Hey guys, this is Joshua Seth, voice of Tai on Digimon, and you're listening to Anime Secrets.
Toku Secrets is a podcast run by the Anime Secrets website. Check us out at animesecrets.org for more anime, video game, tokusatsu content. Remember to follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or wherever you listen to podcasts today.
Oh, yes! This is Goldar, and you're listening to Toku Secrets Podcast. Don't tune us out, tune us in.
Welcome to Toku Secrets. Join us as we journey into the marvelous world of Super Sentai, Kamen Rider, Power Rangers, and many other tokusatsu. Get ready for the adventure of a lifetime. It's Morphin time! Link to the Morphin. I'm Nathan Desai, the dazzling adventurer, Spoken Silver.
I'm Patrick Allen, I'm Shinken Red.
And I'm Ridwan Merchant, Gokai Red.
And I'm Anthony Davis, also known as Kyoryu Green. And we're Toku Secrets.
Welcome, everyone, once again to the Toku Secrets podcast presented by animesecrets.org. And today we're back for episode number 4 of our review on Engine Sentai Go-Onger. Last time we took a look at GPs 11 through 14, and today we're taking a look at 15 through 20. We got a lot to talk about because we have our 6th Rangers. That's it. That's right, Rangers. We got 2 Rangers here debuting in this batch. We got a lot to talk about. So now we don't have much to talk about with our recap of last time, because last time it was just fillers, and more fillers. Some fun filler episodes here and there, though, so it wasn't an entirely boring podcast. But yeah, that, as Riz said, was the calm before the storm. Well, guess what, guys? We are in the storm. We are about to go through that, and it's going to be a fun ride. So
it's going to be a fun ride on wings.
Yep, absolutely. All right, so let's just jump right in. We got a lot of things to cover here. So we're going to start off with GP 15 Engine Stall, which is the first of a 3-part episode. We get introduced to a new villain and some mechs. So what happens here is that we get introduced to a new villain, and I'm not going to botch this name, but they do botch it multiple times in the series. His name is, and I apologize for people who know that this name is a mouthful, Hiramekimides.
You said it right.
Yeah.
Yeah, you said it better than I did for the first, I don't know how many episodes.
Yeah, but this episode makes fun of how funny his name is, because nobody can pronounce it right.
Honestly, I ended up just calling him Archimedes from here on out.
It's not even close.
Hiramekimides.
He is Archimedes, and that's all he'll be to me. I don't care what you say.
Yep. For our RPM fans, this guy's suit was one of 2 that was used for Vengix's bodily form, and it also had and it was also used briefly in the first episode of Ninja Steel when they used those 2 assorted monster suits to fight against each other on Galaxy Warriors. The other one being one of the Fear Cats from Operation Overdrive.
Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, so this was one of 2 guys who's going to be one of Vengix's counterparts. But Hiramekimides is Yogo Stein's vice minister. He's an expert strategist, and he mysteriously disappeared during the Engines' fight with the Guy Arc in the machine world. And it's actually good that he mysteriously disappeared, because his skills and tactics were impossible for the Engines to defeat. And when they face him again here, they feel incredibly intimidated and just completely terrified. And they initially flee in terror, but luckily the Go-Ongers are able to rally them to fight back against him. And when they're fighting back, and when we get this really big fight, they're able to briefly overpower him, but he still is able to survive. And that's the cue for 2 new mysterious engines to appear and drive them off. These 2 new engines, we're not going to learn their names until the next episode, but I might as well bring them up now. We have engine number 7, who is a chicken. Yes, a chicken. Officially called a chicken here. A chicken helicopter hybrid Toripter. And a silver-colored Tiger fighter jet called Jetris, engine number 8. And they scare off Hiromeki before they fly away. And the Go-Ongers are very surprised because the engines do not recognize the new flying engines at all. So what do we think about this one, guys?
It's a very good setup episode for what's to come. I think Archimedes is a pretty fun villain.
Sorry, look, mispronouncing the name is just going to be hilarious.
Look, I already told you, I'm not going to call him Hera Mickey Dees or whatever.
Hera Mickey Midiv.
Hera Mickey Archimedes. Got it. Okay, moving on. And you might think I'm trying to make a stupid dad joke here. I'm really not. I just can't say
no. I get it. You're not being funny, but it's just it's funny how serious it is.
But yeah, Archimedes is a great villain. I like him throughout the run that he's in for, and I think it's interesting. Just the city engines meeting their maps and being unable to do something, and then these 2 new engines pop out of nowhere, and they're like, "Man, y'all kind of suck. We're just kind of wrecking this guy, no problem at all." So I thought it was a pretty good episode, kind of briefly debuting these 2 without really debuting them, you know?
Yeah.
So it's a good setup for, I think, episode 16 and probably 17, if I'm remembering correctly.
Yep.
Yeah, I forgot how much I liked the setup for the wings, how they kind of kept them in the shadows for a little bit.
Yeah.
Like introduce the engines first, kind of like briefly lead into it. But Himeki Midas touch, that's what I'm going to call him. Is...
Okay, at the end of this podcast, we have to do a quick ranking of our different names that we came up for him.
But
Archimedes and Himeki Midas.
Archimedes, Himeki Midas, Anthony and Nathan, you got to make up something now too. Go
I'm going to need a minute to think about that.
Make a high, make a tiny hole.
That one. I'm sorry. That's the best one.
Okay. Were you trying to do a pun off of the Lime and the Coconut song?
No, you never watched Pee Wee Herman's Pee Wee Herman? You never heard of that?
Pee Wee Herman?
Yeah,
like the 90s.
Yeah.
I watched that.
That's where I got it from.
Okay. The way you said it just sounded like the Coconut and the Lime song. If you know what I'm talking about. I think Patrick gets it though.
No, I get it. I just don't see where you got that out of that.
Me neither. Like,
okay, hold on. Say it again, Anthony.
Make a high, make a tiny hole. You never heard that?
You don't hear the jingle in that, Patrick?
No, I don't.
Okay, either I'm crazy or you're stupid. One of the two.
And it's probably because I understand both references, so I can't.
I knew what Riz was talking about, but I didn't get the rhyme, and it didn't catch me. Like,
Himekamidas, I like the dynamic he brings, because up to this point the villains have just been kind of like, we talked about it last time a little bit, but they've been whatever up to this point. Like, I don't even really care enough to know their names, but
has really been getting more, I guess, progress in my personal opinion.
But like the villains needed like something to make them a little bit more intimidating, and his impact it was felt. So
I think I know that would really help the other villains is that like with Yokostein having his vice minister, I feel like the other two might need vice ministers of their own. That way they can kind of have somebody they can like rely on.
And also, it's like I said, it's been a long time since I've seen this season because it's been about a decade for me. But I've been so familiar with like watching the RPM footage. I forgot him. They removed his glasses for the Vengex body in RPM.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
I didn't
they do
notice.
do that.
I didn't notice Mickey Menace wore glasses until this. I was like, wait a minute, were those always there?
Meanwhile, I don't remember any of the RPM stuff, so I'm seeing this like as if I've never seen RPM at this point. Like, yeah.
Most of the time, Riz, you will not see any Sentai footage of him unless he's still in the little his little flying vehicle.
Yeah.
RPM. But for like the Sentai, for the fight footage, they use like just the regular American footage for his fights.
You know what I really like about this episode is that even though it is kind of dealing with some admittedly more heavy-handed stuff, it does manage to kind of balance out some genuinely humorous moments. Like, okay, them struggling to pronounce Mickey Midas, whatever his name, it's funny. Yeah, that's obviously funny. But one moment, like, I remembered this when I first watched it, and I'll still never forget it, is when the engines have been damaged and Ren is working on them, and Sosuke thinks, "Oh my God, is Speedor gonna die?" And then he has this like fantasy of like Speedor, an animated version of Speedor, like floating up into heaven with angels' wings. Well, he's like, "No, Speedor, don't leave me." That was a mix of both funny and kind of sad.
Yeah.
It's like that scene from Shinkenger in that episode where Daigoyo runs away from Genta, and we get this big emotional scene where Genta and Daigoyo are making up, and it's like, are we supposed to cry or laugh? Because I feel half tempted to do both here.
Yeah, this is an emotional moment between a man and his lunchbox. What am I supposed to feel here?
Right.
But yeah, it's a well-rounded episode. I give this a 9 easily.
Yeah, same here.
9.
Same 9.
One thing I will definitely say is that I love the fact that up to this point, like the engines were kind of just like, oh, we can take any of these guys. They're nothing. Mickey Mayday shows up. Where? Hi.
This is. We're already getting a taste of how badass these people are because, like, Mickey Midas spends this whole episode bouncing the Go-Ongers around, and then he sees these two and he's like, "Oh no, I got to get out of here!"
Right? He got them boys shook.
Yeah. But anyway, let's move on to GP16 Honor Recovery, which is the second of this 3-part series. It's a second part, but it also has some filler episode kind of implications. So pretty much it's clear that these two new engines aren't exactly friendly, and the Go-Ongers and their engine partners want to prove that they can still fight. Carrigator reveals that these two new engines are part of the wing race. They're a rare race of engines that are naturally born with the ability to fly, but Carrigator still doesn't know who they are. Toriptor and Jetros, they formally reveal their names to the Go-Ongers and the engines. And we find out in a flashback that they drove Mickey Midas away from the machine world. They chased him into another dimension, which is how he mysteriously disappeared. And the reason why the engines were able to defeat the Gaiark. Mickey Midas or Archimedes or whatever we want to call him, he survived the battle in the previous episode, and he joins the Gaiark as a second in command, although it's pretty clear that the other people don't like him. The Go-Ongers, along with the help of the wing engines, they're able to defeat the latest Bankiju, and the two wing engines partners are revealed to be piloting them. We only see them briefly. It's a soft debut here. We only see their helmets mainly. We have a female silver Go-Onger and a male gold Go-Onger. Toripter and the Silver Go-Onger call him Aniki, Big Brother. We'll find out more in the next episode. And yeah, they're pretty skeptical, kind of looking down at their nose at the Go-Ongers at the end of this episode, and then they fly off. That wraps up the info for this one. What do we think about this one?
I want to keep this really brief. It's an okay episode, but I just want to keep this brief because I want to get to the next episode, because that's where the beef of this podcast episode is going to be.
Yeah. The only thing I'll give it is that I love the funny shenanigans that they go through with trying to figure out how to defeat the oil banki, because it's like they try to come up with all these ideas, and the ideas that they go with, perfectly represent their characters. Like
one of my favorite part of this was where Hanto tried to do like the glue on his shoes thing, and then he ended up getting stuck, and the others just turn around and walk away, leaving him there.
That was classic Hanto moment right there.
It's like, you guys are dicks.
And I think Gunpei's was also kind of funny because he thinks, oh, I got this really good idea. Like, he's trying to be smooth, thinking, yeah, I'm cool. I can use this situation to my advantage. But then it blows up in his face because, once again, Gunpei, you're not cool.
The shot of, like, Gunpei sliding along the ice, and then the target he was going through, he just, like, slides right past it casually. This episode had some great visual humor.
And honestly, like, the more comedic nature of this, where they're trying to come up with overly complicated ways to defeat this, when really the solution was just to get a bunch of giant mops and wipe it all up. Like, it kind of reminds me of, and I apologize to you for bringing this up, Riz, it reminds me, except this is done in the better way, the Gekki Ranger episode where they have to fight that monster that's like spreading like goo all over the place. Like, this is the better version of that episode where they were trying to come up with a complicated.
Because it just showcases how, like, they're smart, but they're also complete morons, because they wanted to take 3 rights instead of 1 left.
I mean, and that's the beauty of this episode to me, was that the Go-Ongers are clearly capable fighters, but convincingly no, they're just really abstract, off the wall, balls to the walls, crazy.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I love about them. Like, they're just
yeah. And I do want to say that up until this episode, I forgot Corrugator could talk, because he's never.
Yeah, he doesn't get many chances to speak.
Nah,
and this will become a topic later in the podcast, either in this one or the next one, or at some point. I don't know. I'm so far ahead that I can't keep track of what happens when. But there's a scene later where I'm like, Corrugator, you're a real thing. Okay. So,
you know what? Speaking of Corrugator, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say something else. You can go ahead.
No, what I was gonna say was that the fact that the wing race being there, it's kind of like, well, they wouldn't have known they have partners, because we see, with Corrugator, he didn't have a partner when he first appeared, in the human world. So they would assume, oh, they're just like Corrugator. They don't have no partner. They just do their own thing.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. I never caught on to that they never, like, questioned if they had Go-Onger partners. They just kind of assumed that they were, freelance engines doing this for their own, doing this on their own.
Yeah.
Well, because they had Corrugator there to kind of give the example of, hey, not everyone has a Go-Onger partner. Yeah, and that was one of my things I was going to say later on in this episode review. But the other thing, so being a first-time watcher of Go-Onger, when Silver calls Gold Aniki, so obviously I know Aniki means older brother, but at the time I kind of sort of knew that they were siblings before because I think you guys have mentioned in the past to me. But I also 100% didn't know. Like I was kind of wondering, is this a sibling duo or is it something else? So my other idea I had while trying to figure it out was either they're siblings or they're using Aniki for the off-brand word of boss, which is something that you'll see in other animes and stuff. Like, for example, Patrick and Anthony and
Agumon.
Digimon Savers. Exactly.
Mhm.
Yeah. You see him call him Aniki, but he's not the older brother. That just means, hey, that's my boss. Like in a gang kind of way. So
and that's the only similarity between the Go-On Wings and the Boom Twins is that they're siblings.
Yeah, that's the only thing.
The only similarity.
Wait, I forgot they're siblings in RPM.
Yeah, the Boom Twins are siblings.
Yeah.
Okay. Look, but again, RPM and I are going to have a nice little reunion at some point because I know nothing. I promise I've seen it before. And I know you guys all know I've seen it because we had a long talk about it when I did watch it years and years ago.
Mm-hmm.
But this is the only season of Power Rangers that I can safely say that I have zero memory of.
Wow.
But yeah, I'm gonna give 16 a 9 out of 10 just because the humorous stuff on it and the way it sets up stuff is actually pretty good. That's what makes it stand out to me.
Yeah, I'll give that to you.
I'm giving it a 9 for all those reasons, but also more importantly, Corrugator has some personality for like a brief second in time that never comes up again.
Fair enough. Anthony, what do you want to give it?
I'll give it 8.
Cool.
Just for laughs.
All right, now let's move on to GP 17, Wings of Justice. This is the final part of this 3-part episode where we get the formal debut of our 6th Rangers. So pretty much the whole plot of this is that the Go-On, our 6th Rangers, they're called the Go-On Wings. They reveal themselves to the Go-Ongers, but we quickly find out that they're not exactly friendly. We get the formal debut of the Go-On Wings, the Go-Onger 6th Rangers. The Go-On Wings we have Hiroto Suto. He is Toripter's partner and Go-On Gold. And his younger sister, Miu, Go-On Silver. That's Jet Press's partner. They're from a wealthy family, and they live in their private mansion as their own personal base. And I don't have it listed here, but unlike the Go-Ongers who have to rely on Bomper to tell them when Gaiark is coming, they just have natural enhanced senses to allow them to tell when the Gaiark has appeared. They're both also martial artists. Hiroto is an expert kickboxer and boxer, and Miu is more of an Aikido type of fighter. Little bit of some fun facts here. Hiroto is played by Hidenori Tokuyama. Now, Tokuyama is a big fan of tokusatsu, and this is actually his first second kind-of-ish big role in a tokusatsu series. 2 years prior to this, he was a recurring anti-hero character named So Yaguruma in the Kamen Rider season that was airing in 2006, Kamen Rider Kabuto. And yes, he was a writer. What was that, Anthony?
I watched the entire season, so I know all about this.
Yep. He starts off. He's actually the first user of Kamen Rider the Bee. That's a Kamen Rider power that gets used by multiple different characters, and he's more commonly associated with being called Kamen Rider Kick Hopper.
Mm-hmm.
And some of his other roles, he had a character of the day named Edgy in one episode of Bee Fighter Kabuto. That's the name of the series. It was one of the Metal Hero series that was adapted into the Big Bad Beetleborgs. I think it was the one that was adapted into the second one, Beetleborgs Metallics. And he also voiced a monster of the day in one episode of Kamen Rider Ditto. And another fun fact about Go-On Gold, and this might actually be kind of This may sound kind of crazy, but it's true. Even though Go-On Gold is technically the second Gold Ranger in Super Sentai, the first one was Maji Shine from Maji Ranger, or the Solaris Knight from Mystic Force. Go-On Gold is technically the first Sentai Ranger to have gold in his name. So from a name perspective, he's the first Sentai Gold Ranger, which is kind of insane. Like with all these Silver Rangers, you would think that we got a gold before 2008, but nope.
But the thing I find even more funny is that we got a Gold Ranger almost a decade before with Zeo and Power Rangers.
Yep.
Yeah.
Actually, actually over a decade ago.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Also,
math.
Also, correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't Miu still the only female Sixth Ranger?
I think so.
No, I mean, yes, but not really, because oh no, what's her name? Hammy and Ninja. The green.
I think
the
she's more of like.
That sounds. I think that's an extra ranger.
Who's the extra ranger?
Yeah. Like she would be like, okay, if they had like Me Ninja Ranger keys and Go Kaiger, they would probably, her Ranger key would be one of those that Bosco had for like a good chunk of episodes, not the Sixth Ranger keys.
So that makes Go on Silver pretty unique on her own then.
Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So to give a little bit of information on the Go-On Wings, they transform with grip-like henshin devices called the Wing Triggers. Their weapons, I actually really like these weapons, but we'll talk about them in a second. They're called the Rocket Daggers. They were called Cloud Hatchets in RPM, which I don't know why they called them hatchets, because they don't look like axes at all, but whatever.
I know, it sounds cool, but when you realize that they're not hatchets, it's just like, why are they called hatchets? It sounds cool, but I don't know. I get it.
Yeah. They're space shuttle-like daggers. They can perform different attacks based on these three switches. Like they have fire, ice, and lightning-based attacks. They got energy slashes, and they can become jet boosters to allow the Go-On Wings to fly. So pretty cool weapons. And they can combine with the Wing Triggers to form guns called the Wing Boosters. And the Go-On Wings use the Wing Boosters to perform their finishing attacks, similar to what the Highway Buster and Super Highway Buster perform. So yeah, let's briefly pause here. What do we think about the Go-On Wings as suits, guys?
I like them a lot, actually. They're pretty slick looking to me.
Like them too.
Yeah, the thematic thing of, instead of having tires on their side of their helmets like the Go-Ongers do, they have I wouldn't say propellers, but they have
jet turbines.
Jet turbine. Yeah, thank you. Jet turbines on the side of their helmet. And where the Go-Ongers have car seat belts, they have jet, like the X-shaped seat belts and everything. Like that, they managed to thematically fit them in with the style, and it works really well.
Yeah. I remember again. And I brought up this same thing when we were talking about the Go-Onger suits. Like I remember when I first saw these suits on SuperSentai.com back when Go-Onger was first airing. I thought they looked absolutely badass, and I still think that they are today. Like these, the more I think about it, these might be I don't know, maybe top 5, but definitely top 10 Sixth Ranger designs. Like they fit the characters really well, not so much the Boom Twins and RPM, but whatever.
Yeah.
They fit the Go-On Wings characters perfectly.
Yes,
like I really like these suits. But yeah, so we find out in a flashback that Toriptor reveals this. So Toriptor and Jetros got stranded in the human world when they were chasing Hira Mechamidas, and the Suto siblings, they found them, and because the wing engines were impressed by their enhanced senses, they chose the siblings as their partners, and they were taken to the engine world to undergo harsh training. And the Go-On Wings, so they basically view the Go-Ongers as weak and inferior, and they insist, stay out of the fight, leave us to fight the Guy Arc. And Hiroto is a little bit harsher, colder toward the Go-Ongers. Like, he doesn't want anything to do with them at all. And Miu is a little bit nicer, but not in the way that you think. Like, she's not trying to talk Hiroto down, saying, "Oh, come on, brother, they're not that bad." It's more like, well, yeah, they're pathetic, but we shouldn't be too harsh on them because they're pathetic. Like, kind of interesting stuff. But yeah, what do we think about this episode, guys?
This is a lot of fun, honestly. I think my favorite part was really just kind of starting to see more interaction between the Wings and the Go-Ongers, because the Wings come up with this high air of high and mighty, holier than thou kind of attitude, and they can really back it up because they know how to fight, they know how to deal with this kind of threats, while the Go-Ongers continue to kind of bumble around until they kind of land on the solution more often than not by happenstance. And I do like this dynamic because it's not like they're going to join the team today. It's obvious from this episode that there'll be two different factions kind of working toward the same goal, but they won't be friends and they won't be working together and collaborating together very often. And I think that's a really good thing, because it's not very often that you have, two people in a separate faction from the main team competing against them. I mean, if you have a Sixth Ranger who is evil, it's very short-lived, and it's only one evil Ranger. There's never like two of them, So having two of them here is really awesome to me. It makes it more interesting.
Yeah, the only example I could think of is in Hurricaneger. They kind of do the thing with the Hurricanegers and the Go-Riders, the Thunder Rangers, where they're kind of separate, but they're still kind of working together. But it's not nearly the same as what they're doing here, honestly.
Yeah.
In what way?
I mean, it's like the Go-Riders are still there fighting alongside the Hurricanegers, and they're not nearly as hostile toward each other. But at the same time, like, they, right from the starting gate, like, they're combining their mechs together almost as if they're part of it. Like, there's a reason why, something like that. But I think the only other way, like, I wouldn't say that this is quite similar to the relationship that, like, Naoto has with the Time Rangers, because there's like open hostility between Naoto and the Time Rangers. But while not as much hostility here, but I don't know, this is a very unique dynamic between the main five and the Sixth Rangers. And we can talk about that a little bit more in the next episode.
Yeah. But I was going to make the comparison to Naoto with Time Fire and the Time Rangers, but not for that reason. I was going to say my reason for comparing them is they act completely independent. There's no real need for Time Fire to really work with the Time Rangers unless he wants to for some bigger reason, which you'll see in Go-Onger later on. There are cases where the Wings say, okay, let's team up, but this doesn't make us friends. We're kind of doing this because we need to. So in that way, they are similar. But I think the thing that's different from, the Go-Onger Go-Wing thing is that, like you said, Nate, now it's just a bit more of a dick to them. Mm-hmm. But he's a dick because he's angry with
Tatsuya.
Yeah, it's been a while. And yeah, but meanwhile, the Wings don't really dislike any of them. They just don't think that they're worth fighting with because they seem to be immature children who don't know what they're doing yet. And that's valid because looking from the outside in, they are immature children, don't know what they're doing yet.
Yeah, and that's kind of one of the things, because one of the things I was excited to think about and figure out when I decided to watch the season was I liked the Go on Wings my first time watching this season, and I didn't really have a good explanation as to why. But now that I've seen a handful of other Sentai, I think not only do I know why I think they're good, but what makes a good Sixth Ranger is the way they affect the dynamic of the team. Like, let's look at some of the other good Sixth Rangers we've had. We've had Shinken Gold. He came in and he shook Takaru because they knew each other. And he was able to, like, break through Takaru's, like, hard casing a little bit. And it messed with the dynamic of the team a little bit. Let's look at Black Knight. It brought him back to life. And it changed, you know, Ginga Red's whole character arc and motivation, and it made everything a lot more intense. And then, like you said, with the Time Fire, he was like the closest thing we've ever had to like an antagonistic Sixth Ranger. So with these guys, they come in with this high energy, rambunctious, like carefree group, and they're the serious wedge that this season was kind of missing. And it makes them question if they're just lucky or if they're capable, while at the same time it makes the Wings question if they're as mighty as they think they are. And it adds this unique dynamic to the season that just makes everything more interesting. And for that, just off of this initial impression, I think this might be the third best Sixth Ranger intro behind Jeremy and Black Knight in Ginga Man. It's a really good introduction to these characters.
It is. And like you're kind of saying, I'm going to piggyback off that a little bit here. One thing that I think also helps, like you mentioned, a unique cases where things are not typical, like with Genta and with with Black Knight.
Yeah,
you know, they bring something to the story to make them more unique. But in the case of like Violet and Boom Boonster, for example, he comes in, we think he's going to do something really cool and be kind of like to Go on Wings in a way. But within like an episode or two, they're friends, they're hanging. It's no animosity or anything.
Yeah.
Even with Zermi, I mean, I know there's like that kingdom thing going back and forth between 6 of them, but there's never like an animosity. There's never like a competition type thing with it. It's more of a, hey, I'm a king for the 6th kingdom. I'm here to also stake my claim. But it's never like this. And I think this is a really unique thing. And honestly, I'm going to hold off on this until we get to Nathan's ranking at the end that I know he wants to do, actually.
Yeah. The only other thing I'll say about this one is, and this is something I really appreciate from this episode, I like how they show Hiroto and Miu at the beginning of the episode, but they don't waste any time in immediately establishing that they're Go on Wings, because there are some Sixth Ranger episodes that kind of do this, where like we've already seen 2 episodes on this podcast. We saw it with how Genta first became Shinken Gold and Guy became Gokai Silver. And it's similar to how the Mega Silver first episode is in Mega Ranger 2, where they'll have these characters show up and they'll just be messing around or something for most of the episode. And then at the end of the episode, oh, wow, they're the Sixth Ranger. Like, they transform and all that. They don't do that here. Instead, they just have them. We immediately, in the first 5 minutes of the episode, establish that they're the Go on Wings. And then they spend the rest of the episode just really establishing this dynamic card. And I really appreciate that.
Also, another tick in the music, the Go on Wings theme song is incredible.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
They played it during their big intro fight scene, and it just made everything so much better.
But piggybacking off of what you guys have been saying, they do shake up the dynamic because, with all 5 of them, they felt with the 5 regular Go-Ongers, they were essentially all like, the goofy, but some of them had their quirks and their different personalities or whatever, but essentially they're all very goofy. The Go-On Wings are all no nonsense. They're like, hey, we're going to do a job, we're going to finish the job, and we're going to like be very mindful, be very demure about everything. So we're going to just do that.
It's insane how RPM's 5 were serious and the Wings came and the Boom Twins came in and made everything goofy, and then here it's the exact opposite.
Yeah.
The contrast between these 2 seasons is a headache.
After 10,000 years, I still have a headache.
It's like I do enjoy RPM, but like I can't get around that the Boom Twins were very annoying. So
oh no, like if we're gonna do a compare and contrast between the Wings and the Boom Twins, it's not
Wings
even
win automatically.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're hinting we might have to do that podcast, but
we already planned on it. It's happening.
Oh God, how are we gonna manage that?
That'll be interesting. But what do we want to give 17 out of 10, guys?
No, this is a 10.
10.
Yeah, 10. All right, now let's move on to our epilogue to the Go-On Wings, GP18, Commoner Hero. This episode is all about, so the Guy arc is targeting the Go-On Wings in particular, and Miu, because she pities the Go-Ongers for being weak, she wants to fix or improve them. I'm putting air quotes around those 2 words. And this episode, there's kind of a little bit of a thaw in relations between these 2 groups, because Miu gets captured and Sosuke helps Hiroto save her. And the Go-On Wings, they still look down at the Go-Ongers and they think, yeah, you guys are kind of pathetic, but you got passion and you got spirit. So, yeah, you just keep fighting and do your best, and then we'll always come in to save you and save the day. That type of relationship. And we also get a debut for a new mech formation called Ingeno Jetoriptor, where Toriptor and Jetros link up with Ingeno as the right and left arms, respectively. Ingeno can use Toriptor's rotors as a shield and projectile weapon, and Jetros's wings can be used as a bow for an energy bow and arrow finishing attack. So pretty cool stuff. What do we think about GP18, guys?
This kind of bounces off the point I was making earlier about how the Wings were making the Go-Ongers question their seriousness, but the Go-Ongers make the Wings question if there's merit to the Go-Ongers approach, because you kind of saw Hiroto and Miu almost respect Sasuke for his fiery recklessness here. Like, this was a really good episode for Sasuke. For him not really being like the center point of this episode, he had great moments in this.
Definitely.
This episode is fantastic. I absolutely love GP18. It's one of my favorites in the season right now.
And what I especially like, sorry, Riz.
I was going to say, I like that we got some really good Miu development here so early on for her character. Like, she's demonstrated to have like this soft spot for, people that are lesser than her, according to her brother, and she wants to try and fix them. She takes them all out to dress them up and make them high society, like how they are allegedly. And it's really cool to see that. But then also Sosuke just elevates this thing so far, because he really shows them, hey, we don't need to do things your conventional hero way. I can get stuff done by being a random piece of crap that doesn't actually think anything through ahead of time.
Mm-hmm.
And it works because he's demonstrating a good way to balance out being the hot-headed red Sentai leader and not being a complete waste of space.
Yep.
Yeah, it's like you could tell because Hiroto was literally about to, surrender. And then he probably would have gotten captured and they would have lost there, but Sasuke's recklessness ended up saving both of them.
Yeah, I noticed that too. And Sasuke literally gave Hiroto like an opening when he did that. He said, "Hey, take my henshin device and let her go."
And it's that give and it's that give and take that these two sides of the coin have that just makes this dynamic so good.
Oh yeah.
And I like how they don't go the predictable route. Like, they could have easily have just gone the route of, Hiroto was all like, "Oh, well, you helped me save my sister, so you guys are awesome. Let's all join forces." But they don't go quite the route of the Go-On Wings remaining as condescending as they were. It's an interesting dynamic where they're not quite on the hostility level of like Time Fire and Time Rangers, but they're also not exactly on like a level of like, say, the Go-Ongers, where with Guy, the Sixth Ranger is just part of the main team. He's living with them in the same place. Like, it might as well just be one of them at that point. Like, it's a very interesting dynamic where they're working together and they're not friends, but they're not enemies either. If that makes sense.
More like friendly. It's like friendly rivalry.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a perfect way to put it.
I want to point something out. I do like the fact that Miu likes Saki the most. Have y'all noticed that?
Yeah.
Like Saki or like Sasuke?
Well, I mean, likes her as like a little sister, like
okay,
like little bond, like
I did make mention of this when we were talking about Saki a few episodes ago. It's like when Miu gets introduced, Saki's character actually goes up a little bit.
Absolutely, dude.
Their dynamic as the season goes along is going to become amazing.
Oh yeah,
you get that like maybe what 6 episodes later after these.
Yeah, those two are just true girl power incarnate.
You mean for Z3?
Yeah. When we get to that episode, we'll talk about it more. I can't wait to talk about that episode.
Oh, I'm so excited for when we get there, but we're not getting there for a little while.
Yeah.
I don't think it's in the next batch. I think it's in the batch after, probably.
Yeah.
But
I also I really like Hiroto's moment too, because like the past couple of episodes, you think this guy's just a complete badass. Nothing, he's never going to be vulnerable, but he's genuinely hesitating when Miu is in trouble, because that's probably the best dynamic here. The two may be a little arrogant and look down at the Go-Ongers, but they genuinely love and care for each other like real siblings should. And that moment, kind of really highlights it.
And that's why these two are so high tier in their character rankings in my book.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's just something really awesome about these two, and they're doing a fantastic job of portraying the characters here.
Yeah, it's not like how, I know I keep bringing up Time Fire here, but he's like the definitive anti-hero, like, or even Bull Black, not Black Knight, not Hyuga, the guy who was Black Knight before him, like the type of people where if they see civilians or innocent people in their line of fire, they're not gonna care. They're just gonna keep firing because they don't care about people. But if a monster was holding Miu hostage, Hiroto would hesitate, and the same with Miu, which shows a bit more of a three-dimensional type of personality compared to a typical. I don't know if you could call Miu anti-hero, but you could definitely call Hiroto anti-heroic.
Yeah, Hiroto is definitely anti-hero. And I'm going to talk about it a little bit more in the character section at the end, I think.
Yeah. But what do we want to give it out of 10?
9.5.
I got to give this another 10.
I do too, but I don't know if it would be okay to give another 10. So if you're giving a 10, I'm giving a 10.
Yep. Anthony?
We can go 10. I was remembering everybody else. I don't know if you heard me.
Okay, cool.
All right, let's move on to GP19, Gunpei's True Intentions. This is a filler episode revolving around Gunpei and Hanto. So this is kind of a weird episode where it looks like Gunpei's trying to rally the Go-On Wings to work with the Go-Ongers, and then Hanto thinks, oh, well, this is because Gunpei feels like he is feeling down because he's the least popular of the team. So he tries to come up with a way to help Gunpei defeat the latest Bankiju. There is one big thing that's going to play part in the next episode that happens at the end. Hirameki starts assembling parts from the destroyed Bankiju in this episode. He's preparing a special plan, and we also see a mysterious whale-like engine arrive in the human world, contacting Hiroto. Who is this? Well, we'll find out in the next episode. But before we get to that, let's talk about briefly what we think about GP19.
I'm going to start off here.
Go for it.
I hate this episode. Because,
really?
Yeah.
Well, I knew he would say that. When I was watching this episode, I said the exact same thing. I was like, we're just gonna hate this episode. And I was right.
Okay. Let me rephrase that. I hate what they're doing to Gunpei in this episode. The rest of the episode is fine. It's serviceable. It's a good story. But, man, can we give Gunpei something else except for being comedic relief and the feel sorry kind of character? Like, come on. He's not that pathetic as a character on paper, but they do everything in their power to downplay him, to make him like unworthy or just, I don't know, he just feel pathetic and useless, and it bugs me.
So that's really interesting because I had your idea of this episode completely wrong then. Because I thought that you didn't like how he was responding to the other Go-Ongers when he was saying, hey, like, you guys are like annoying, like, you guys are the reason why I couldn't defeat the Bankiju, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Y'all distracted me. That was a dumb idea. That's my initial thought.
No. I thought, okay, so the idea of him trying, okay, so if he had done this episode in a different way, where Gunpei said, hey, Wings, Go-Ongers, we all have to work together to become a team because we need each other, because at the end of the day, this threat from the Guy arc is too great for us to handle alone. And hey, we actually can work together. We need to learn from each other. And he had played it off that way, I'd be fine with this. But
yeah,
they consistently made him the butt of the joke. And I didn't like it because I was like, okay, come on, give him something. Do something with him. Make him unique. Make him interesting. And I get it. I thought about this a lot. Hiroto is what I wanted Gunpei to be. But it doesn't mean Gunpei can't be taken seriously. Mm-hmm. Even if he is like comic relief, at least make him a little bit more serious, or at least a little bit more. Like, when I say serious, I don't mean like make him a serious character, but like make him somebody I can take more seriously. Yeah. Because right now, I just treat him as like, oh, he's just here for goofs and laughs. And
like, he was vastly from the first two episodes of his debut. Even then, they just kind of just made him more goofy as time progressed.
No, he was fine in the first two episodes. Like, he was a great character. He was stoic. He was very, not aggressive, but like antagonistic towards the others. And he wanted to like prove that he had the capability to do it. And honestly, that drive in the beginning could have been really powerful here, because had they played a story differently and said, okay, Gunpei wanted to become a Go-Onger, and he went and took the power and became a Go-Onger. I want to borrow a phrase from Boom Boonster here, because I just finished watching an episode of it. He got in the driver's seat and he took control of his life, and he became the dang best he could be of a Go-Onger. And then these wings appear and he's completely outclassed. And now he's working to try and find a way to become as good as they are. And that would have been so much better than this garbage that we got here.
It's like that was his idea, but it just didn't execute it right.
No, I know Eagle mentioned in our Discord that, his actor was unable to play a serious character, so they had to make him comic relief. But I really hate that happened. It's tragic. It ruined him.
Yeah.
But how can he not play a serious character? He literally played a serious character in like the first 2 episodes.
That's why I don't understand. I need to go look up the reference that he made in our Discord, because I don't understand why he would be able to play it well for 2, like you said, and then suddenly out of nowhere, he just takes a whole 180-degree turn with no warning.
I think somebody in the higher ups would like make him goofy. We don't, because I don't buy what Eagle said.
No, I don't buy it either. Now that we've gotten to this point. In the beginning, when Eagle first said, I was like, oh, okay, maybe that's true. But the more I think about it, I don't know, man. Because
it could have been a decision from like the producers saying, hey, maybe you should lay off the serious side. Like, we're making a goofy Sentai, be more goofy.
Well, I mean, it could also be that at this point, the writers are like, hey, wait, we can't have Gunpei and Hiroto in the same cast. Because there'd be 2 of them then, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And I mean, it could have been done. You could have had both of them, because they both had their own accolades healed that made them different, you know? Like for Hiroto, his accolades heal and his entire reason for being there. I mean, there's a couple of reasons for why he's there if you go further into the season, but the most obvious is to be with his sister and to protect her. Like, that's the thing. Like, whenever his sister gets in trouble, he drops everything to protect her and do whatever it takes to keep her safe. Gunpei could have been, hey, I want to prove myself to be the strongest there ever was, and he's driven by that. And that's why he's serious. But they didn't do that. It could have worked. In my opinion, it could have worked.
I mean, truth be told, my real problem with this is that the episode starts off like it's going to be one of those typical post Sixth Ranger debut episodes, and I spoke about this when we did Go-Kaiger and Shinkenger, where a typical episode is the Sixth Rangers just came in, and then we get this episode where one of the Rangers with the main team has like some like rift with them, like Don feeling like he's being overshadowed by Guy already, or Ryunosuke feeling like being skeptical of Genta as a samurai because he didn't go through the formal training. It works like that. And I got the idea that it starts off like, okay, this is going to be like about an episode with Gunpei and his dynamic with the Go-On Wings. And the thing is that dynamic could have worked because, you know, Gunpei started the series off really looking down on the Go-Ongers, thinking like, well, I've been a crime fighter before all you guys, so I'm better than you guys. Like, he's always kind of looked down upon them. So maybe he could get the idea that like the Go-On Wings would look upon him a little bit differently. Like, he's the cool one. And you could have done this whole plot where he thinks that the Go-On Wings are going to look at him as the cool one, or maybe he wants to be the cool one, only for the Go-On Wings to kind of look down upon him just as much as the others. And that could have been good for his character. It could have helped further his relationship with the other 4 Go-Ongers. But the problem is that it segues into this new plot where he's the least popular Go-Onger on this website that we've never seen before and we're never going to see again. And which, by the way, how are the Go-On Wings already on this website, and how are some of them already ranked ahead of the other Go-Ongers when they've only been around for 3 episodes? That's never explained, because Sosuke is number 1, Miu is number 2. Like, really? when the Go-On Wings haven't even been around? So that doesn't even make sense from the in-universe perspective.
And also, who's maintaining it? And, you know, like, it also made me kind of wonder, do they know who the Go-Ongers are outside of it? Like, are they keeping track of everything they're doing, every battle? Is that being recorded somewhere?
Yeah, exactly. And I give Hanto credit. Like, he was pretty cool in this episode because, you know, he's, you know, being Gunpei's bro, so he's cool. But it's like, okay, so ultimately it turns out with the plot twist that Gunpei really did just want to become number 1. okay, well, why was he trying to bring the Go-Ongers and Go-On-Wings together? Like, how would that help his approval rating in the website to the public? Don't know how that works. Like,
that's another thing I didn't like.
maybe this plot. Okay, maybe this plot could have worked a little bit better if it came out in an episode just before the Go-On-Wings came out, or maybe wait a couple of episodes, you know, when the Go-On-Wings are just kind of established here and you're having your filler episodes. This plot would have worked, but the fact that, like, it starts off thinking that it's going to be about Gunpei and the Go-On-Wings, and then kind of nonchalantly and unceremoniously segues into this episode, to the plot of this episode with the website, it's just kind of a confusing mess to me, honestly. And that's the big problem that I have with this episode, because you have an opportunity for another one of these really good, like, staple post Sixth Ranger dynamic with one of the main Five Rangers episodes, because usually those episodes are really good. Like, I love that episode between Don and Guy and Genta and Ryunosuke, but this one, I don't know if it wanted to start off as one of those episodes and then just got confused, or if this is supposed to be one of those episodes. But if it is, it doesn't do a good job of it, honestly.
It's because they don't know what they want to do with Gunpei's character. They don't understand his character because they didn't write it properly or at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but I'm done ripping this one apart.
Patrick, what do you think? You were kind of silent.
Yeah, I was waiting for everybody to get done because I feel I'm going to be the contrarian here.
Ooh, let's have it.
I genuinely thought this was Gunpei's best episode.
Okay.
I need more from you than that.
It's okay. So let's start at the beginning. He wanted to take the mature route because up to this point, the Go-Ongers' ways to impress the Wings has just been continually going about it their way and hoping that it eventually, makes the Wings see them as equal. And the rule, if you keep doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results, that's just called, what was it, insanity? Or something like that. So Gunpei, even though we joke on him, he is the most mature member of the team. He wants to go about it in a little bit more of a civilized manner. And it doesn't work. And it bothers him that he's still being seen as like an idiot to the Go-On Wings. So he genuinely tries to prove to them that his method works. And that's being aggressive, because he's probably the most aggressive of the core five. And it doesn't work because he was trying to fight alongside the Wings, and the Wings just have better synergy with each other, because of course they do. So he takes it upon himself to better his fighting skills. And when he's struggling, you can see that it's affecting him mentally, because he doesn't like being seen as lesser until what was his name of his weapon, his engine, Gumpard, kind of told him that. Yeah, Gumpard. That talk they had in the forest after Honto did his little clown thing. He said, "You joined the Go-Ongers for what reason? You joined them your way. So why are you?" I took this as, why are you trying to appease to people who clearly don't want to like you? So go about it your way. Mm-hmm. And he got up in the monster's face, held strong just long enough to find his weakness, and then pass it off to Honto because he had a weapon that could handle the situation better while he saved people in the building. He was the more level-headed. He took the more level-headed approach. Don't be reckless, find the weakness, and then exploit it the best you can. That was his way. That's how he got into the Go-Onger roster. And it was more of, he stopped trying to appease to the Wings, and it was more of, he played up to why he joined them in the first place, and it worked. And I think that's the kind of episode he needed. Was he's kind of been, I guess, shaping him. He's been like trying to appease to people instead of just doing what he does. Granted, I don't think it's perfect, but I think that this episode was something that he needed to go through. It was like a refinding himself kind of episode. Because by the end, because this whole time he'd been trying to like appease to them, but when he found the weakness and he had a chance to get the kill shot himself, he didn't take it. Like that was a sign of, this isn't my strong suit. Hanto's got the axe that can actually, clash with his saw blade. I'm going to go put my efforts somewhere else and let him handle it. The guy he trusts, the guy he joined the team with. Because he had a moment in this episode where he looked at Hanto and said, that's my guy. So when it came to it, he passed the moment off to his friend and went off to do something else. Strategy. He was the more logical, grounded member of the team, and he did that. He planned it out in this fight, and it worked. So maybe I'm looking too deep into this, but when I was watching this episode, this is kind of how I was dissecting it, and truthfully, I think this is like a 9. I'm going to be honest with you. I think this is a 9. This is a great episode for him.
With how you explained it, it actually kind of does make sense. And then at the end, he gets the recognition from the people online.
Yeah,
because
so he does it his way, and then it finally pays off not just in the results in the battle, but his view amongst the populace. I know that last part is kind of unnecessary, and I thought it was kind of stupid too, but he finally stopped trying to appease the people, and he did it his way, and everything worked out for him finally.
And see, you have me mostly buying into that. My only complaint will stand with, I don't like how the rest of the cast kind of makes him trivial or a joke. That's my biggest complaint about it. Like the rest of what you're saying, I can see it.
I mean, that's just kind of the dynamic of the team, is that he was the serious one. He is the serious one, and the rest of them are a bunch of goofballs. So he always felt like the outlier on the team from the beginning. So that's just part of their dynamic as a group. I never really took that as the team seeing him as a joke. It's more of like the team, he just doesn't really gel well with the rest of them.
Yeah.
So,
but I mean, even going beyond this episode, and we can talk about it later on in another batch probably, but I don't see that growth carry on from here.
Okay, well, we can touch upon that when we get to those episodes, because
a
lot of the more finer details I don't remember off the top of my head, but at least for what this episode is to me, I think this does Gunpei more justice than anything before this has given him.
And when you put it the way you did, I tend to agree with you that that's another way to interpret it, and I think that's a valid way to interpret it. And had this carried through beyond here, I'd probably be more empathetic to him as a character. But where I am in the season, I don't think it's really come to fruition the way that we had hoped it would have.
I guess it's because it's not consistent. Maybe that's the problem.
It's really not. It's not consistent at all. Like there's other episodes that come up later that we'll get to at some point. I don't know when we'll get to them, but he's a complete goofball. Like, and it's fine to be a goofball because that's what most of the team is, but it makes his character inconsistent. If Sosuke's a goofball, fine. He's meant to be a goofball. I'm
sorry, go ahead.
There's an episode I'm thinking of where I think he shows what Patrick is talking about. But I also think there's another episode I'm thinking of that disproves it completely. So it just comes out as like him being very inconsistent across the board as you go through the season.
Mm-hmm.
But go ahead, Anthony.
You know what this actually kind of reminds me of, low key? The tonal shift with how I'm forgetting his name from Go-Kaiger, the villain, the leader of the Zanyak before he got
Ward
axed.
Gills.
Nick Gills.
Yeah,
Marzu Gil.
Mars Gills. He reminds me of that. He was seen as in the first episode. You see him. He's serious. He's very posture was good. He was like, oh, the nation's gonna go well, blah blah blah. Episodes later down the line, he becomes like this spoiled rich brat who just keeps whining every time he loses to the Go-Kaigers. And I think to myself, the total shift kind of reminds me of this, where like the character Gunpei, he was kind of serious. He was like, doing all these things, but then all of a sudden the character shifts into this more goofy character. I'm just like,
so what you're telling me is effectively you're comparing Gunpei to Goldar and Rito.
Kinda.
I mean, I don't want to say Gunpei's as bad as Wars Gills, because Wars Gills became just he was insufferable.
No,
I was trying to get at that the tonal shift was similar.
Yeah.
They weren't. It just felt weird. Like,
that's why I pivoted to Goldar and Rito.
Yeah, I think Goldar was a little bit better because Goldar in MMPR season 1 was legitimately intimidating, and then he was just a Three Stooges character after that.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of
punching bag after that.
Yeah.
But
and that's kind of how Gunpei is.
Yeah, it's like regardless of what happens after this, I just wanted to take this episode for what it was, and that's how I viewed it.
Yeah.
So
no, you did something here. You did something here, Patrick, because I was originally gonna give this like a 5 or a 4. I'm gonna drop this down to like a 6.
Yeah, I was gonna give it a 6 originally too. I feel tempted to give it a 7 because I see what Patrick's trying to say, but it's still got some issues to where I don't think I could rank it high. But I'm sympathetic to what Patrick has to say.
Agreed, and that's my thing too. Is that
as well? But I'll go for a 7. So a solid 7, definitely.
Well, I talk the talks. I'm going to back it up. I'm giving this a 9. Like I honestly like this episode a lot.
And there's Patrick with the come at me bro moment.
That's fair.
Also, another reason why I like this. Another reason why I love this episode so much is that Honto gave his biggest bro moment.
Yeah, Honto was the reason why I didn't give this a lower score, honestly.
Yeah.
Originally.
The whole Gunpei was actually trying to get his own popularity up thing. Okay, yeah, that was kind of stupid. But Honto wanting to get his guy's popularity up, that's cool.
Oh, and Patrick, I was just thinking to myself, like, if the Go-Ongers did exist in real life, I feel like you would have gotten along with Gunpei the most out of all of us.
I feel like probably because I'm sympathetic to guys like that who are like try to be serious, but in the world, like you stop having fun.
I annoyed his goofiness, but I wouldn't hate him though.
Nah.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to the last episode of this batch, Siblings Battle, which is GB20. This is the debut of Jumbo Whale and Seikyo. It's a Hiroto and Miu centric episode where a rift between the Go-On wings kind of erupts when there's a big misunderstanding between Hiroto and Miu. We'll go into more details on that when we talk about this episode. But Hirameki Midas unleashes a powerful Makiju and a new engine appears. Who is that new engine? Well, engine number 9, Jumbo Whale. He appeared briefly in the previous episode, and we get the formal debut here. He's a navy-colored whale jumbo jet hybrid. Jumbo Whale is the leader of the wing race, and we find out at the end that he actually trained Hiroto and Miu in the machine world. He can shoot water out of his top, and he can transform into a jet mode where he becomes a drone-like mech that can fire an energy burst attack. And he's also able to combine with Torator and Jetros to form Hiroto and Miu's personal mate, Seikyo. Jumbo Whale becomes the head, main body, and legs, while Torator and Jetros become the arms. Seikyo can fly. He can shoot rockets and missiles at enemies. And he also can use the attacks that Tortur and Jet Frost's arms provided to Ingenoa's, as established in an earlier episode. Before we talk about the episode, what do we think about Seikyo, guys?
A lot better than Gumburo. I'm just gonna say that.
Yeah, I like him a lot more. He looks better. He moves better. I'm not gonna say he's like the Jungle Fury main mech. I forget the name.
Yeah,
but he definitely he definitely has that kind of aesthetic to him, though.
Yeah,
I mean, a main mech that's primarily a flyer is pretty rare too. So he is unique in that regard.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do what I said. I said it's very aerodynamic.
Yeah.
You know, I was a little harsh on it when I did the toy review on the Fandom Toy Box, but that was mainly just the toy. It looks a lot better in the show, actually, because the toy has some issues, and it wasn't even a bad toy. Like, you can go and check out my review for that if you want, but the mech itself in the show is actually pretty cool. With how, like, some mechs just look better in the show than they do in the toy, like most of Go-Ongers and a little bit of Go-Ongers mechs, which I can't wait until we get to those seasons, because, well, we already did Go-Onger, but Go-Ongers mechs are not really that great, but they look okay in the show. And I mean, this one, okay, that toy isn't as bad as those mechs, but this one still looks pretty cool. Not maybe top 15 Sixth Ranger mechs. I don't know if I would put it in the top 10. Definitely not the top 5, but still pretty cool.
V-Rex is unbeatable.
Yeah. But what do we think about the episode itself, guys?
I really like Jumbo Whale. He's a fun character. And he plays a really fun role later in the season, but that's for later on. As far as this episode, though, I thought it was really cool having that debut here and kind of sow another avenue for the Go-On collective set to fight the mechs, you know?
Yeah.
So overall, a really solid episode, in my opinion.
I just like how Miu thought that Hiroto was a playboy, and it like shook her to her core because of how she viewed her brother.
Dude,
yeah.
And then she felt guilty, like she was holding him back and stuff. And, like, for being such a tough girl, she had a moment of like she was like shaken, like legitimately shaken. It was.
But see, this is what I was talking about in one of our last couple episodes we just talked about, where I was saying that Hiroto's motivation for why he's here and why he's serious is for his sister. He did it all for her. He dropped all his dreams. He dropped everything to be a Go-On wing with her because he wanted to be. And that's a really awesome motivation that he has.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the moment where, like, Hiroto tells Miu that I'm Go-On Gold because I want to and I want to fight alongside you, that's a very powerful moment. And coming from Hiroto, of all people, whom the show has been almost kind of determined to make out to be like a ruthless jerk, like seeing his relationship with Miu, that's one of the highlights of the series. And that's probably one of the best moments of this little relationship that they have going on.
Mm-hmm. She's the only one that can crack him.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'll admit, and maybe you guys can explain, because I'm not saying that's going to hurt the episode, because it's not, but I'm a little confused at the end where, like, Miu gets the idea that Hiroto was a, quote, Gatai maniac. Like, it's still kind of cute, but I don't get what they were trying to do with that. It doesn't hurt the episode. Like, what was your guys' take on that part?
I have no idea.
Okay.
I thought it was just she was saying that he's like a little he's like little I guess mecha I guess what's the word for it?
I think that just might be sibling jabs. Like she's just screwing with him because she knows she can.
Yeah, fair enough. But yeah, that doesn't hurt the episode. I still, I think this was a great way to bring in Jumbo Whale. Some people might say it was rushed, but I think it was fine because you already established in a previous episode that Hiroto and Miu were trained in the machine world. So them saying, oh, well, he's their instructor, that's fine because you can build upon it in future episodes, which, spoiler alert, they will build upon that in future episodes, but we'll talk about that later. So yeah, I think the debut for Seikio was perfectly fine here. Mm-hmm. It didn't feel rushed at all.
This episode also had a pretty underrated joke at the end where after Sekiro blew up the monster, it cut to the 5 Go-Ongers and Saki was like, wait a minute, did we just get completely left out of this fight?
That was so great.
And Sasuke put in Speedor Sora's like, Speedor, are you okay with this? Like they were shaking that they got no screen time.
It's an ongoing joke too after this point, FYI.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
But I know we've already given like 2 10s already, but yeah, I don't care. I'm going to give this one a 10 as well.
I mean, hey, 10s all around for me.
I don't know if this is quite on the level of the other ones. It's a 9 though, but
I mean, I think the fact that we got this great revelation about Hiroto and his character and why he's like that, that's a huge deal, man. That's on the same level as Sosuke in the whatever Miu Sosuke episode we had earlier.
Yeah, I don't know. I just felt like the impact that the 2 episodes we gave 10s to earlier were a lot bigger.
Yeah.
I would say I'll give it a 9.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
But okay, so that wraps up the episodes that we're taking a look at. So the only thing that we have left to do, we've with the general discussion, like before we do any opening tier rankings, did any of you guys want to bring up any like other subjects, like miscellaneous stuff you want to talk about before we move on to the next subject?
No, I think I've said my piece at this point.
Okay.
And I'll start off on the Go on Wings.
Yep. So for the audience, real quick, we have 2 new Rangers here. We have Hiroto and Miu. So we are going to be doing our opening tier rankings here. We're not going to update the tier rankings for the main 5 because we still have 5 more episodes before we reach the midpoint. But because Hiroto and Miu have made their debut, we have to give our opening tier rankings. So let's go ahead and do that.
Brian.
Oh my! I swear that was not intentional.
I don't know, man. But yeah, for me, so I know, Nathan, when you and I were talking the other day, I told you Miu is most definitely like entering that S tier category, but I had my thoughts on when I think would be appropriate to say Hiroto is entering that S tier category. But then I really started thinking back to this past episode 20, and he probably already is there in my book.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm tossing these 2 on S tier from the get-go. Come at me, bro.
No, I agree with it. Yeah.
You're not going to argue with me, or you're going to argue with me?
No, I'm not going to.
Okay, good. Because if you're going to argue with me, I'll take you to your cleaners right now.
I mean, it's like the shakeup they put on this season. We already talked about that. And also, like, I legitimately do think that their introduction arc is amongst the best. Like Jeremy and Hyuga's, I think, were like the 2 best Sixth Ranger introductions. This is right up there with them.
I mean, I almost want to say this is better than Hyuga's intro, like introduction as a.
those are some heavy words. Like legitimately.
I know.
I mean, it depends on what you consider Hyuga's introduction arc. Do you consider the entire Bull Black storyline his introduction arc?
No, not at all. Okay. That's a whole different character.
Well, I mean, like from when Bull Black gets introduced all the way until Hyuga takes over as Black Knight.
Okay, if you're going to count that, then yeah, you win. But if you're only talking about Hyuga taking over the powers, then it's pretty dang good, but I don't think it's like this level of good.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It depends on what all do you consider Hyuga's Black Knight intro arc to be.
No, I don't consider all the stuff before it.
So like Bull Black's death episode up until he gets the power himself would be
up until so whenever he gets the power after giving back the sword.
Oh yeah, gives the saber back to Ryoma. Yeah.
That's a great scene. But
then I understand why you're going back and forth on it. Then
right, because to me that's a powerful scene, but that doesn't have an impact on the story and the entire core of what's going on here. It's a good moment for two characters, but these two and Go-Ongers, it's taking the entire series to the core.
Yeah.
And the only other one of the seasons I've seen that does it is Jeremy, because when Jeremy gets on scene, the entire dynamic is thrown off.
But also just like the jaw-dropping revelation that literally everything about the series up to that point was his fault.
Yeah.
So it felt like it honestly felt like that the introduction arc of the season was like the first 20-something episodes, and his reveal was the end result of everything. It was just jeez. I forgot.
Yeah.
I can't get over just how good his whole arc was.
Oh yeah, 100%. But yeah, that's why I think these two are right up there next to Jeremy, and Hyuga's right behind him.
I respect it.
Yeah, definitely. I'm gonna second with the S tier ranking. I don't know. These are characters that I really enjoyed when I was first watching Go-Onger. Like, these are very special Sixth Rangers to me. I just think that their characters are great, and I think they're going to hold S tier, but yeah, the impact that these characters have is just amazing, and I'm going to second Riz's, well, third, because Patrick kind of agreed with him too, the S tier right from the get-go.
Anthony, speak your words.
I mean, they're already S tier in my book. So.
Okay, cool. Moving on.
All right. Well, in that case, anything else we want to say before we close out here, guys?
If you had to pick one, who would be the one you prefer?
What, between the wings?
Yeah,
that's a tough question.
Hiroto seems a lot more difficult to get along with. Like Miu is still a little bit of an egotist, but she's nice. So I'd probably prefer Miu, to be honest.
Me too. And no, not because she's cute. Just FYI.
Yeah.
Also, one thing I was noticing about Miu as I was watching the season, and Nathan, you could back me up on this, is that a lot of female rangers kind of fall under two categories: the like soft motherly type of character, and the soft, like must protect girly girl type. Miu is tomboy, and there's not very many tomboy female rangers in Sentai.
No, there's not.
So she's a breath of fresh air.
I know, right?
Yeah. But okay.
By the way, there's one more thing I gotta point out.
Yeah, go ahead, Anthony.
The opening did change. I noticed that.
I did.
When the go on wing, there's like I know you can barely see because the name credits and is like blocking the whole thing, but they have different titles for each character now.
Yeah.
Kosuke is the Speed King. Ren is the Cyclopedia because he's smart. Saki is the what was this? What was this? It was something. It was something Sweet Angel. I think it was. I can't remember.
Something like that. Yeah.
Green was Vagabond, and Gunpei was Chaser. Hiroto was Philosopher, and I love this one. Miu is Lovely Sensation, which is honestly that's her in a nutshell.
Yep. And what was Hiroto?
Philosopher.
Philosopher.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's a pretty cool. That's a pretty cool shake up to the opening.
It's funny because a later episode, which we're going to be reviewing soon, is about that very topic.
Mm-hmm. Anything else, guys?
No, that's it. That was the bit that I wanted to bring up that we didn't talk about.
All right. Well, in that case, that wraps up this one. The Go-On Wings are here, and Go-Onger was already going pretty good, but now we are definitely hitting a lot of the good stuff. Go-On Wings are here, and we're definitely looking forward to continuing on with it. Next time, we will be taking a look at GPs 21 through 25, and we will be updating our tier rankings for the main 5 Go-Ongers as well, since we'll be at the midpoint officially with the next podcast. We will see you guys next time for that, and we will also see you guys as we continue our review series of Boom Boomger, which will continue when we move up to at least Bakuage 35. So we definitely have a lot of cool stuff for you guys to close out the year of 2024, and we will see you guys next time. But until then, bye for now. If you enjoyed listening to the Toku Secrets podcast, please check us out at animesecrets.org and follow us on all our social media pages such as Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And also feel free to check out our other podcasts, including Anime Declassified and the Jedi Squadron. You can also leave us any feedback you'd like to offer us directly on our website. If you're listening to this on Spotify or iTunes, we thank you so much, and please leave us a rating out of 5 stars. If you're watching this on YouTube, please subscribe to our channel if you're not already subscribed, and leave any comments down below, as we love to take the time to read comments left on our channel and give our fans, shout-outs. If you have any seasons of Super Sentai, Power Rangers, or other tokusatsu shows that you'd like for us to check out, please don't hesitate to say so in your feedback. With all that said, we thank you so much for taking the time to listen to our podcast, and we will see you next time as we continue our never-ending journey through the world of tokusatsu. But until that time, you all stay safe, we love you, and may the power protect you.